Sheriff Todd Baxter. My name is Christopher Chichester. I have never committed a crime. This is an interview you gave with a reporter at the Democrat and Chronicle. Published in the Democrat and Chronicle on January 2nd, 2018, where it says right here, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, quote, I have a passion for jails. So I'm going to read this story, which includes the question and then your answer. And I'm going to try not to laugh at certain points because you are such a stooge and a buffoon in your answers. You do not talk the way a normal human being talks, as this interview demonstrates. I'm going to try not to laugh. I love the Three Stooges, and there are points where I'm reading this where I laughed, just like I laugh when I'm watching Mo, Larry, and Curly. This is by Megan M. McDermott, Will Cleveland, January 2nd, 2018. Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, I have a passion for jails. In November, former Greece Police Chief Todd Baxter pulled off an upset win in the race for Monroe County Sheriff, unseating four-term incumbent Patrick O'Flynn. That's why you're an accident of history. Four-term incumbent Patrick O'Flynn. And you switch parties to do it. You became a Democrat because you have absolutely zero political principles. The ideological beliefs for the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the people that are members of each party are radically different, but not for you. It doesn't matter to you the beliefs and principles in the two major political parties, because you're there in your residence or wherever you were prior to this campaign, conniving, calculating on how to win office, and you were successful. You're the Lyndon Johnson of Monroe County. Congratulations. Baxter didn't waste any time assuming the duties of his office. As New Year's revelers celebrated the ball drop in New York and the clock chimed midnight on Monday, Baxter and Undersheriff Corey Brown visited the Monroe County Jail. Now, why is it necessary for you to tell Megan M. McDermott and Will Cleveland that you visited the Monroe County Jail at midnight on January 1? For what purpose? Why? You're talking to these two reporters and telling them you visited the jail. This is the way you promote yourself. And the way you promote yourself is nauseating because I'm going to continue. Visited the Monroe County Jail, stopped at the training facility shooting range to qualify with their service weapons. You're telling the Democrat and Chronicle that this is what you're doing, that qualifying with your service weapon? You think that's news? You believe that qualifying with your service weapon is information you need to communicate to Megan M. McDermott and Will Cleveland? Is this some heroic act on your part, you party-switching, bald-headed fascist stooge, to tell two reporters that you qualified with your service weapon after the clock chimed midnight? It's ordinary routine for any police officer, any law enforcement official to qualify with the weapon, just like it is for every member of military service to qualify with their weapon. Because I remember qualifying with my M16 in 101st, and it's fucking ordinary, you fucking fascist stooge. Stopped at the training facility shooting range to qualify with the service weapons, then went on a New Year's Day patrol with deputies. A New Year's Day patrol with deputies? I have to pause there at your pathetic self-absorption on how you're telling me you went on a New Year's Day patrol with deputies. You're patrolling with your deputies. What you're doing is walking around, wallowing in narcissism with your fellow groupies and telling the people of Rochester in Monroe County that the clock chimed midnight, you're qualifying with your service weapon, and you want some type of approval for just walking around and doing your job. And you know what? Your job is not to patrol with the deputies. That's what an entry-level employee does at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This is your narcissism out in public because you want to be out in public surrounded by your groupies with these two reporters for the Democrat and Chronicle, and then you're going to have some phony interaction with people that you happen to come upon where you can express your phony identification and sympathy and compassion with these people because you're a total phony, as this just demonstrates here with the two paragraphs. Why are you calling these reporters for the Democrat and Chronicle to say that you're qualified with your weapon? You are such a joke. I continue. The Democrat and Chronicle sat down with Baxter on Tuesday afternoon to ask some questions about his new position and his outlook on the county's challenges. What follows is a transcript of that conversation, lightly edited for space and clarity. Democrat and Chronicle question. You obviously have a close relationship with the Rochester Police Department. How will that affect the Monroe County Sheriff's Office going forward? Will there be more cooperation, collaboration? Sheriff Todd Baxter. With being the two largest law enforcement agencies in the area, that's a natural collaboration. Things that happen in the city affect the county and vice versa. We were just talking the other night before last about the fireworks show. You're talking about the fireworks show. A fireworks show is going to be a fireworks show. If an incident happens that's a criminal act, then you go to the fireworks show. You're not a fucking babysitter at the fireworks show, you bald-headed fascist stooge. I called Mike, Rochester Police Chief Michael Ciminelli, and his command staff to ask about what we would be doing for special events on New Year's Eve. What you're going to be doing for special events on New Year's Eve. Free people in the United States of America on New Year's Eve want to be left alone by the fanatical cops. And here you are, a fanatical cop, appointing yourself a babysitter for a free people. I would naturally deploy a couple of deputies in the city just to help out. Why would you naturally deploy? It should be the same night as every night. I don't care that it's New Year's Eve. If people get drunk, they're going to get drunk. And if they commit crimes, you arrest them. If there's a public intoxication, you arrest someone for public intoxication. If there's a crime committed, then it's a crime committed. Perhaps you can deploy a few more personnel, but you don't have to call out naturally deploy company deputies to the city just to help out. Why? Why just to help out? Your job is not to help out. Your job and the job of your employees is to respond if you are called. That's the job. You're not helping out anything. Respond to criminal acts and criminal complaints and take action. That's what you do. That's not to take away any work from the city cops. Yes, it is. The city cops are there to be the city cops. You're the Monroe County Sheriff Office, and that job is to police the roads. And on this night, there are going to be people drinking and driving. So here you have your employees in the city on foot. Instead of being in their vehicles when people start to drive, you should have had your employees in their vehicles because people that drink on New Year's Eve are going to drive. And that's where they should be. Yet here they are, as you say, doing special events in New Year's Eve. I would naturally deploy a couple of deputies in the city just to help out. And when you naturally deploy a couple of deputies in the cities just to help out, they're not in their vehicle on the roads for when people drink and drive. But should the big one come in, we're going to have interagency cooperation anyway. When I say you talk like a freak show, this is evidence of it right here. I do not use language just to use language. I strive to be precise in language. You talk like a freak show. And this is one example of it. And you're going to talk like a freak show when I get to the other answers from you. You are a freak show in the way you communicate. And I'm astonished that you're in office. And The reason for it is that you're an accident of history and that your predecessor was a 16-year fossil. But should the big one come in, we're going to have interagency cooperation anyway. What are you talking about, the big one? What is the big one? And I'm trying not to laugh. I really am. What the hell are you talking about with the big one? What is that? What is the big one? But it's nice to have deputies on scene for things like that. No, it's not. It's not nice. What do you mean it's nice to have deputies on scene? Your employees are not babysitters for a free people, you bald-headed fascist stooge and criminal. Do you understand me? And the answer to that question is no. You don't understand me. Then there's crime patterns. We're the only ones who put borders on ourselves. What are you talking about? Crime patterns, I understand, because there are crime patterns. As anybody who has read the work of the great James Q. Wilson, the most prominent criminologist of the 20th century, he has talked about crime and how there is a pattern of crime. However, we're the only ones who have put borders on ourselves. What the hell are you talking about? I'm going to say that again because it's your incoherence. We're the only ones who put borders on ourselves. Criminals don't. You put borders on yourselves, meaning you have restraint. Is that what you're talking about? If you're saying you're the only ones who put borders on yourselves, that's a lie as far as restraint, because you're a fanatic, a degenerate, and a sociopath. I have never committed a crime, and your fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths have descended on me without borders, and borders meaning civility. There is no border for civility because your employees are incivil. Criminals don't. I'm blessed to be in a multi-jurisdictional unit now, and this is the kind of fun. You can reach out to the towns, the city, and say, how do we interact more often and be prepared for the worst of the worst by doing interaction when it's not so bad? What the hell are you talking about? I'm going to read that again. I'm going to read that full paragraph again because it is, again, confirmation of your total incoherence. This is the paragraph. Then there's crime patterns. We're the only ones who put borders on ourselves. Criminals don't. I'm blessed to be in a multi-jurisdictional unit now, and this is kind of fun. You can reach out to towns, the city, and say, quote, how do we interact more often and be prepared for the worst of the worst by doing interaction when it's not so bad? What are you talking about? Be prepared for the worst of the worst by doing interaction when it's not so bad. I'm astonished at your inability to communicate in a simple manner when it's required, because you don't have to go into deep thought with every answer. A simple question requires a simple answer, and you're incapable of that. It's like you have this exhibitionism here in the way you communicate. When you're providing more information than you're supposed to, and when that happens, it's total incoherence. You are the king of total incoherence, as that answer demonstrates. During the campaign, you were critical of the sheriff's office's response to the opioid crisis. What will you do differently now? Todd Baxter. We had a staff meeting my first day here with 13 people sitting around the table from the sheriff's office, 5 different bureaus, and I charged each one of them to have some kind of foot in the game. Some kind of foot in the game? What does that mean? Foot in the game. Your communication is bankrupt when you're talking about foot in the game. Think just about the court bureau. Obviously, a lot of people coming into court are either family members or people suffering from addiction. Just having a drop-in center right in the court where family could go right next door to the courtroom, and there'd be a beautiful nonprofit right there that can help the families as they negotiate through this process of recovery. Or if the person's addicted, they're looking for immediate treatment, they can be helped right there. You're not Oprah Winfrey. You're not Sheriff Oprah Winfrey. That's not your job at all. If someone is addicted to drugs, then they're addicted to drugs. And there are government officials and government bureaucracies and government agencies that handle such addiction. You say here, a beautiful nonprofit that can help the family as they negotiate through the process of recovery. What the hell are you talking about with a beautiful nonprofit? Are you Mr. Intervention? Are you Sheriff Intervention? Obviously, you think you are Sheriff Intervention. Drug addicts are going to commit crimes. If they commit crimes, real criminals and real crimes. I like these pathetic concoctions for me. Then your employees should do their jobs and arrest these individuals. We will become much more involved with the county and their initiatives and the Department of Health, and much more involved with law enforcement end of it, sharing data and sharing intel. Sharing data and sharing intel as it applies to the beautiful nonprofit and addiction. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying or trying to communicate here, because sometimes you are so incoherent, I have to look at it and think about what you just said. We will become more involved with the county and their initiatives and the Department of Health, and much more involved with law enforcement and even sharing data and sharing intel. That means nothing what you just said. How are you sharing data and sharing intel about a beautiful nonprofit and talking about people, quote, people suffering from addiction? I've already challenged my operations commander to identify an incident commander who will be responsible for the sheriff's office response to opioids. The sheriff's office response to opioids. You are not a drug counselor. You are not there for intervention. If people using drugs commit crimes, real crimes, particularly felonies, then you arrest these individuals. Does not matter if they're using drugs. A crime is a crime, correct? We're going to establish a command post just like if there was another natural disaster or man-made disaster, which I think it is. What the hell are you talking about? Here you are citing your operations commander and response to opioids, and then you're going to have a command post for opioids? That's exactly what you said here, you bald-headed fascist stooge and criminal. A command post for opioids. Sheriff Oprah Winfrey. It's such a joke. Just like if there was a natural disaster. A natural disaster is natural. A drug addict makes that decision to use drugs, and that's not natural. Or man-made disaster, which I think it is. A drug addict and drug use is not a man-made disaster. That's free will. That's a choice the person makes. If that individual commits a crime, then your employees arrest those individuals, and then those individuals go through the legal process. What you're doing here is attempting to demonstrate to all these people who want to get in touch with their feelings that you are the sheriff of feelings here. All these precious people who need their elected officials to communicate to them that everything is going to be all right. This is exactly what you're doing. I will have someone dedicated to be responsible for a daily response for using that timely intel and for deploying our resources to support other agencies, nonprofits, and other governments. What the hell is that? I have no idea what you're talking about. I will have someone dedicated to be responsible for a daily response for using that timely intel and for deploying our resources to support other agencies, nonprofits, or other governments. Timely intel. What is timely intel? I continue about you and your fascist, stooge, repulsive existence of incoherence. We don't have anybody spearheading that now. Within the next 6 or 7 days, we will be establishing that command post and putting some resources into it. A command post. I've been at a command post when I was in the 101st Airborne Division. In the 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry, when we went to the field. You don't have a command post. So since I have been in one, I have seen the way it functions. How are you going to have a command post in the city of Rochester or anywhere else in Monroe County, Webster, Penfield, Fairport? Where is this command post going to be, which would have to be staffed by Monroe County Sheriff Office employees? Do you really have a command post? Or is it just your usual incoherence? because I believe it's your usual incoherence. Democrat and Chronicle question. This question is going to be your obscene pandering to a particular political demographic that you know you need in the community, either for sustained political support or when you're up for re-election. So this question I'm going to read in your answer is your obscene pandering. Democrat Chronicle question. In 2013, there were 3 Hispanic deputies and 1 African-American deputy out of a sworn staff of 329. What will you do to increase recruiting of minorities and women? Sheriff Todd Baxter. One of the first things I did this morning was talk to the recruitment section, and we're talking about using a building block approach. What are you talking about? A building block approach? What is a building block approach, you bald-headed party switching fraud? What does that mean? Again, when I say the way you communicate is incoherence, this is it. What is a building block approach? What does that communicate to the people of Monroe County? And do you have flashcards that you write on, your little cliches, in preparation to talking to the media, such as the Democrat and Chronicle? I continue about you, you repulsive hack. We want, quote, we want minorities, and we know we need to hook them while they're young. Get them attracted to law enforcement, which doesn't seem like a very popular career path lately. We want minorities, and we know we need to hook them. Why do you want minorities? You're pandering to minorities here. Why do you have to say, why are you compelled to say, we want minorities? It doesn't matter the color of your skin to be in law enforcement. It does not matter your race, your gender, your color of your skin. You should want to recruit everyone. Does not matter where you come from and what you look like and what your gender is. You appeal to everyone. It is universal. Your appeal should always be universal. You should never be talking about how you want to recruit a particular minority or someone from a particular race or a gender. That doesn't matter. That's totally irrelevant. E pluribus unum, out of many one. We want minorities, and we know we need to hook them while they're young and get them attracted to law enforcement, which doesn't seem like a very popular career path lately. If law enforcement doesn't seem like a very popular career path lately, it's because of repulsive, nauseating, disgusting, fanatic degenerates and sociopaths like you putting a camera on a building at 2025 Penfield Road to concoct a crime for an innocent citizen such as me, which doesn't seem like a very popular career path lately. If law enforcement is not a very popular career path, it's because of nightmare cops like you putting the screws to innocent citizens like me. I continue about you. So we show them the police dog, show them the mounted unit, show them scuba and SWAT to get them hooked. To get them hooked? The way you communicate is nauseating. It creates a nauseousness in me. To get them hooked? On what? People will identify things in life that they want to participate in, either as a career or in their personal lives. They don't need a bald-headed fascist stooge party-switching fraud telling them that they should be hooked because of him. Get them hooked. I continue with this interview that makes me sick. But what do you do with them from the time they're 14, 15, and they're 21 when I can hire them? When you can hire them? When you can hire them. You. But what do you do with them from the time they're 14 and 15? 14 and 15? You're talking about in this interview hiring high school students, a high school freshman. You're 14 years old, you're a high school freshman. If you're 15 years old, you're a high school sophomore. Guess what, you bald-headed criminal? If you're a high school freshman, you're going to be a high school freshman. It's up to the mother and father or the guardian to direct that child in the proper way. If you're a high school sophomore, high school freshman, it's up to the mother and father to direct that child in the proper way. When that person, that 14 or 15 years old, that minor reaches 18, then they can make their own decisions. They have their own free will. I'm going to read that again. This is your big brother incoherence And this is because you talk like this because you've been a pathetic cop your whole life. This big brother, demented way you communicate is right here in this sentence. Quote, but what do you do with them from the time they're 14, 15, and 21 when I can hire them? When you can hire them. You're not hiring anybody. You only hire your top people. You have 300 plus people, correct? You're not hiring them when you can hire them. They go through the process. They go to the academy, if it's still called academy, and then they're entry level at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. I continue with you. Particularly if they're minorities and very successful in high school and very successful in college, they're very marketable and might not want to come into law enforcement. Very successful for the second time, very marketable. You talk like a freak show. If they're minorities and very successful in high school, very successful in college, very marketable. What do you mean by very marketable? What the hell does that mean? Why are you talking about minorities, and that's the word here, being very successful and very marketable? How is a minority very marketable for being very successful in high school? If you do well academically in high school, you in all likelihood go on to a freshman year at a college or a university. You're not marketable. This is not a cereal brand here. Don't talk about human beings like they're something you can buy at Wegmans. Don't talk about human beings being marketable. Talk like someone that I can identify with, a human being that has goals and aspirations. I continue with you, you repulsive, corrupt hack. So the question is, how do we get them caught early with that bite so they say, quote, I want to become a cop or a corrections officer? How do we get them caught early? What are you talking about? Get them caught early. George Orwell, 1984. Get them caught early? People have free will. They make their own decisions about their careers. They make decisions about their lives, and that's the United States of America. Every single person in the United States of America has the ability to exercise free will and make a decision about a career. They don't need you to get them caught early with that bite. What are you talking about? Get them caught early with that bite. Total incoherence. I am just in astonishment that you could be elected sheriff of Monroe County, given the way you communicate. I'll continue with you. Quote, how do we use that cadet program? There's only one cadet right now from the city school district. Why aren't there more cadets? So, what do you mean, why aren't there more cadets? As I'm from Suffolk County in Long Island, I remember in high school, guys that I ran with on a cross-country and track team talking about how they wanted to be New York City police officers and how difficult it was to be hired. Because there are thousands of individuals, just like these guys I was with in high school that I ran with on a cross-country track team that wanted to become police officers, and two of them did. And I remember one of them telling me how difficult the process was and how many applicants there were. There's no shortage of individuals that want to be police officers or sheriff's deputies. There isn't. So why are you acting like that's the case? Get them hooked. These are not drug addicts here. These are citizens with free will that make up their own minds, that don't need Todd Baxter to talk about getting them hooked. You freak show. How we use the cadet program. There's only one cadet right now from the city school district. Why aren't there more cadets? And how we use the training programs. Those are paid positions in the sheriff's office. So you can pay someone while they go through college. They're wearing uniforms, driving police cars from point A to point B. They're getting to know staff, working with the budget. Do you have, based on this comment, individuals driving Monroe County Sheriff Office uniforms that are not full-time, sworn Monroe County Sheriff Office employees? Because I'm going to read that again. Do you have individuals driving in vehicles alone that are not full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employees such as Shannon Meyer and Andrew Alley and Don Benedetto? Do you have individuals driving vehicles that are not on the payroll, like $67,000 Shannon Meyer, $79,000 Andrew Alley, and $85,000 Don Benedetto hiding in my bushes? So fuck you, Don. How do we use the training programs that are paid positions in sheriff's office so you can pay someone while they're going through college? So you said it right there. Are you paying college students the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? Because on that list of payroll, on the payroll I have, there are individuals making $15,000 less. Is that what you're referring to here in this interview? Are those individuals, and some of them have the same last name as the full-time employees, are the ones making $15,000 less on the last page of the payroll, the ones you're talking about here? Pay positions in the sheriff's office, you pay someone while they're going through college. Because I have asked in the previous YouTube, are these minors? Now, I'm asking you if they're minors. If they're not, are these individuals that have reached the legal voting age of 18 and in college and you're paying $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 to? And why? So, I'm going to read that again and emphasize this point. And how do we use training programs? Those are paid positions in sheriff's office. You pay someone while they go through college. So you just said it. Pay someone while they go through college. So you're paying an individual, and they're about 10 to 15, $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 a year. Are they not minors, and are they in college? And that means they're not full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employees doing the job with the responsibilities of a full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employee. So you're paying college students? How do you explain that to the people of Monroe County when you run for re-election, that you're paying college students that are not full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employees to drive around in the vehicles? Are they driving? Are they passengers? Are they observing how a full-time Monroe County Sheriff adult employee behaves and comports himself or herself? It's the answer to that question, Todd Baxter. Driving police cars from A to B point to getting to know the staff, working with the budget people. I continue with you. And importantly, they're getting that name recognition with their possible future employer. Possible future employer. Is that right? You should go through the application process and apply. Is this an intern program? Do you have people that are interns riding with your deputies? This is the thing that I'm most concerned about with that. Getting to know the staff. You said right here, they're wearing uniforms, driving police cars from point A from point B, and you said they're in college. I'm going to read that again to emphasize that. These are paid positions in the sheriff's office, so you can pay someone while they're going through college. They're wearing uniforms, driving police cars. So you have college students wearing uniforms, driving police cars. Are they doing police business? Do you have individuals that are not full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employees making less than $20,000, wearing the uniform and driving on the roads in Monroe County when they're not full-time Monroe County Sheriff Office employees, and they are, in fact, college students? How is that explained? What's the answer to that? Do you have college students driving Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicles on the roads in Monroe County that are not sworn employees of the Monroe County Sheriff Office? And can these people make arrests and do the job that the Monroe County Sheriff Office employees do when you're driving the vehicles? That, for example, a 30-year-old employee can do. This is extremely disturbing, what you have just said. And this is why the United States Department of Justice needs to interview you. And I'm going to have 500 to 1,000 words just on that one answer. I continue with the question from the Democrat Chronicle. Last year, Sheriff Patrick O'Flynn opened a new housing area in the Monroe County Jail for incarcerated military veterans in order to provide them with specialized programming. Do you have any changes in mind for the jail or further outreach to veterans? I mean, your jail's an innocent man. I'm wearing a jumpsuit because I'm a veteran. Why? So what? I was honorably discharged as a 22-year-old Sergeant E5 from 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry, 101st Airborne German Air Assault on May 27th, 1988. I have not worn the uniform of my country for 32 years. And there I am as an innocent man in your jail with a special jumpsuit that denotes I'm a veteran. You are such a joke, a buffoon, a disgrace. Put everybody in the same color. Do you understand me, you bald-headed fascist stooge? Doesn't matter if you're a veteran at all. Everybody should wear the same color. You're spending money on a special area for the veterans and a special color jumpsuit for the veterans. Everybody's in there for the same reason. The same reason is that everybody's an inmate. Do you understand me? I have never committed a crime, and it's totally irrelevant to you. Quote, this is after the Democrat and Chronicle says, do you have any other changes in mind for the jail, further outreach to veterans? And you say, quote, it's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful area. 1984, it is jail. There is no beautiful area anywhere in jail. When was the last time you went to your jail? Go to your jail immediately, take 2 of your employees and go there and talk to the inmates at your jail, because I was attacked at your jail by one of your employees. I wrote down everything at your jail. I walked back one night with my pad and my notebook. Your employee followed me into your jail cell. I sat down on the bed. I was alone. He went to grab my pad. I pulled it away. He took my arm. He jammed my arm up behind my back, took my pad and pen and walked out. I went to the desk. I told the nurse the next day, my arm's bothering me. Guess who comes to get me? The same guy. I go to the nurse. I tell her what happened in more detail. She says to me, who did this to you? And I reply, the guy standing behind me. It's a beautiful area. I wish all parts of the jail looked like that from the standpoint it was controlled, it was clean, and the people there wanted to be there. The people there wanted to be there. Again, 1984, your total incoherence, completely detached from reality. Nobody wants to be in jail, especially if you're an innocent man like me. I'm in there with 70-year-old Bob, who's in there with a domestic incident with the woman he lived with. You got a 70-year-old man in there walking around with gang members. Do you even know you have gang members in your jail? If you're asked by the same Democrat and Chronicle reporters, do you have gang members in your jail? What's your response? Is it going to be deer in the headlights? Is it going to be the same deer in the headlights that Paula Metzler on Penfield Town Court utilizes when there's an innocent man in that court like me? Are you deer in the headlights, Todd Baxter, if you're asked if you have gang members at your jail? And what are you doing about gang members at your jail? What are you doing about gang members at your jail, Todd Baxter? It was controlled, it was clean, and the people there wanted to be there. We even had the other mates trying to get in and be part of that unit to stabilize, and they see hope at the end of it. They see hope at the end of it. 1984, there was no hope in jail ever for anyone. Why are you using that word hope when it doesn't apply? What is wrong with you, Todd Baxter? From an operational standpoint of the jail, we want to create more like that. Marvin County Sheriff Todd Baxter, I have a passion for jails. That makes me sick to my stomach when I read that interview about you. So, why do you think I have this check in my hand? County Monroe Officer Sheriff. Your employee physically attacked me. What's his name? This is why I'll never go into Penfield Town Court. You understand me? Bald-headed, wig-wearing Paula Metzler. Fuck you. I'll never go into Penfield Town Court. I'll leave my residence to go to Canandaigua National Bank. I had $21.39 in my pocket. I withdrew $40. I walk back down Penfield Road, make a right on Sanders Farm Drive. I make a left on Willow Pond Way. I get to the pharmacy entrance. 5 of your vehicles, 11 employees converged upon me. One of your employees ran at me, lowered his shoulder, knocked me to the ground. My head slammed against the concrete pavement. Your employee physically attacked me and assaulted me and committed a crime upon me. What's his name? Sheriff Todd Baxter. What's the name of your employee that physically attacked me and caused my head to slam against the concrete pavement? And the witnesses are your 11 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees. And the blue wall of Todd Baxter will prevent you from disclosing the name of your employee that committed this crime upon me, this assault upon me. I had to go get an MRI, and that's it right there. As I've shown this, your imaging was normal. Your employee, your criminal employee, delivered me to the MRI tube. What's his name, Sheriff Todd Baxter? Tell me the name of your criminal employee. I was demanding the public employee payroll from you over and over and over. I'm going to show this to the Department of Justice. Refused. You refused to open your mouth. Did you see that video I posted on YouTube called Hatred? Did you hear your employees screaming my name? Did you see it? I'm going to send that to the Department of Justice. They're outside screaming my name in fanaticism. Fanatic, degenerate, sociopath Todd Baxter. It's not an exaggeration to call you and label you as a fanatic, degenerate sociopath. They were banging on the screen door, the sliding glass door, pardon me, the side of the resident, the front door. Had multiple neighbors come over that witnessed this. This allows Lee LaRoque to get into my residence. Your $91,000 a year criminal employee, Lee LaRoque, went berserk in here. Proof by affidavit. Ask her where the affidavit is, you bald-headed criminal. Lee LaRoque, where's the proof by affidavit? Why did you take my Chromebook? Your employee, Lee LaRoque, looked at my Chromebook because it is hack, Paul C. Metzer, put it in her hand and took it out of the residence. The papers I had on a bookcase, all the Freedom of Information Law documents that I've used were thrown on the floor. My military uniform for the 101st was on the floor in the upstairs bedroom. My running shoes were thrown 10 feet from where they usually are. The drawers from my father's dresser that he gave me from when he was a child in Brooklyn were pulled out. And there were other things that happened. What is wrong with you, Sheriff Todd Baxter? Why do you behave like an animal? And why do you employ animals? My name is Christopher Chichester. I have never committed a crime.